Hello everyone and welcome once again to Elvis the Ultimate Fan channel. Mike Stone is an American martial artist, retired karate fighter, fight choreographer, stuntman, author, actor and motivational speaker. He is well known for his karate tournament successes in the 1960s. Mike was a former boyfriend of Priscilla Presley. After more than 50 years, he felt it was the right time to write a book about his relationship with Elvis's ex-wife and Elvis's only daughter, Lisa-Marie. I'm delighted to have Mike on the line to speak with me now. Hi Mike, welcome once again to Elvis the Ultimate Fan channel. How are you?
Very good, Steve. It's nice to be with you again.
Okay. Now, what I said to you before we came on air was we've done two previous interviews, so we've covered you meeting Priscilla, so forth. So what I'd urge our listeners to do is check out those two interviews. I'm going to leave the information, the links below in the description box of this broadcast. But where I wanted to start today was leaving Elvis. Where the comment that you make in the book is, I learned that Priscilla and I were unhappily married. You know, people seem to think that, both sides, you were having a great marriage, Priscilla was having a great marriage, she was married to, the king of rock and roll, Elvis Presley, one of the most famous people in the world. She could have anything she wanted, but it wasn't quite like that, was it?
Well, I can't speak for her, obviously, but I can speak for my situation at that time. And I think I touched on it maybe before, but primarily my life has been easily a 12, 14-hour day. So of course, I get up before 10 o'clock, well before that. But if I open up the school from 9 to 10 at night, and I'm teaching most of the time, and the fact that I was a former competitor and champion, I have a lot of associations with various martial arts people at different ranks and degrees of black belt and stuff like that. And I was also a promoter after I opened my school. So I was busy all the time, and most of our tournaments are held on the weekends, Saturday or Sunday. So I held about 5 or 6 tournaments a year. And all of the people that supported me, that came to my events, I obviously, supported them when they had events. So we had a very strong calendar of at least 40 tournaments a year in our area that I could go to. And then I went to some of the other events outside of the state that were major events that I owed friends of mine that came from there. So my schedule all the time was very busy. All of my weekends were taken away. So I wasn't a very good father or husband being that much away from my family. And as a natural thing, I think when you're young like I was, and you're motivated to succeed, and you want to do everything you can to provide for your family, so you're going to be very energetic about working. And that was my goal, to be successful. And I wanted to be successful in what I was good at. So I pursued all aspects of the martial arts to do that. So that was my situation with my wife. So it wasn't anything that Priscilla broke up. It was something that, we all, when I say we all, I can pretty much talk for the planet. I mean, everybody that's in romantic relationships, we go through cycles. The whole universal thing is we are cyclic universe. So we are having cycles and rhythms and timings in our life. And I think we all have the same thing, that after a while, people just grow apart unless you really focus on working on your marriage solely. Then you can make it work. But I think for the most part, it's a very difficult thing that I had to do. I'm not making excuses, but that was the situation. So my marriage was not the best situation that I was in at the time.
Surely in your private moments with Priscilla, though, she would have maybe opened up about her marriage to Elvis.
Yes, but in the initial stages, neither of us had any idea where it was going to lead to. I couldn't foresee what was going to happen. So I think it was just things that over time, that again, cyclically, it just developed into something more and more. And it's just like the learning process. So when she came down and started taking lessons, initially it was twice a week, and it moved up to 5 times a week. And, the more time you're doing something like that, and the more time you're spending with somebody that you're working with, then there's going to be a natural evolution and transformation for both people. So I don't think it was something that she didn't talk about it really, about her situation with Elvis, and I didn't either with my wife. But it was just something that slowly, just gradually evolved and became something more than we thought it would be initially.
Okay, so after all the meetings, she took lessons with you and things like that, yes?
Yes.
And then you spent the day at Catalina Island?
Yes.
That was a major turning point in your relationship. If you'd just like to maybe just outline that day for us.
Well, it was sometime later. It wasn't soon after she started taking classes. This may have been 5 or 6 months later.
Oh, right.
That particular situation came about. Yeah.
I don't want to dig too deeply, because I remember you telling me in our previous interviews that when you gave an interview, and I think it was the only interview you ever gave about this, they wanted intimate details of you and Priscilla's relationship, which you obviously and quite admirably refused to give.
Well, that wasn't the interview thing. That turned out terrible, but it was about when I went to visit the people at Random House in New York about making the book. And that was the one chapter that they had wanted specifically, and was a deal breaker. And it became a deal breaker because I wouldn't write anything about our sexual relationship.
But that evening that you came back from Catalina, that was when you became intimate. And as I say, your relationship actually changed that day, yes?
That's correct.
You've also written in the book that you had concerns that you may have been manipulated at this time. Can you just tell us a little bit about your feelings about being manipulated?
Yes, of course. And it was, I think it was born out of my insecurity at the time, and born out of the incredulous situation I found myself in, being that she was Priscilla Presley. So I think the combination of both things, it was like I couldn't really understand her motive for being with me, or even wanting to be with me. So I was just very cynical about her motivation, and I couldn't think of anything valid. I mean, I was not rich, attractive, or famous. So none of those three qualities that most women are looking for in men, I felt I didn't possess, especially someone like her that was with probably the most handsome man in the world, famous and rich. So I didn't have any of those qualities. So my natural instinct, I was quite insecure about the reasons why she was really pursuing to have a relationship. Just for her to drive 60 miles or so from Beverly Hills down to Orange County, California, that was already, to me, I questioned that. I questioned her reasoning and thinking for wanting to make such a drive, not once or twice a week, like most people take karate lessons, but every day. So, yeah, there was a part of me that was very suspicious of her motives. And why was she doing that? And I think even women do that also. And you ask the question, why me? And in my situation like that, it was really really, why me? It's like it's not something that anybody can have any logic and reason in figuring out. Oh yeah, I get why she selected him. No way.
Yeah.
So yeah, I thought I was being, and then as things progressed, I lost that thought as we were more intimately involved in the relationship, and had it extended for 3 years or so, then I didn't feel that anymore. I felt very secure in our relationship and in who I was and who she was, because she was really developing very rapidly. She was coming out of her shell. She started to really have some confidence and know who she was. So I think it was something very positive for both of us. But then toward the end of our relationship, that idea about being manipulated came back into my thinking, because in retrospect, in the last 6 or 8 months of our relationship, I think it became obvious to me that maybe I was somebody that she felt that could help her in the desperate situation that she was in. And I think trying to find someone, she could have easily gone to have relationships with other handsome young actors, people like that. So there was a reason she selected me. And I think the reason was that Elvis spoke so highly of me, because Elvis was taking karate from friends of mine that I knew very well. So I think it was the martial arts aspect of who I was, my name and reputation in the martial arts, my accomplishments and achievements in my art and sport was comparable to what he was doing as a singer in my simple, humble world. So I think she felt that I was someone capable or strong enough to withstand any type of criticism or anything like that. But again, maybe toward the end of our relationship, I could see that the ends of the string that she was tying was coming together, and she was forming a knot. That there was a conclusion, there was a solution to her overall dilemma and desperation that she suffered at the beginning of our relationship. That's been trying to get away, but who can help? Who can best serve me for what I want to do in my life at this time? And I think I served that purpose. So I think when it came toward the end and she felt very free, once she opened up Biz and Bo, she was now in the Hollywood scene. She was in Beverly Hills. People got to know who she was, what she was doing, buying her clothes, and she was very good at that. Had very good taste and style in clothing. So I think, again, it was just a natural cycle and progression of things. So, but that feeling crept in at the end of the relationship, because I could now see and, put the dots together from the very beginning, that there was a function and purpose in me being with her that may not have been, of course, good looks, fame, and money. So I think we can all agree with that. And I mean, I'm not so naive and stupid. I know my limitations. So yeah, so I think in a way, at the end, I felt manipulated, because I could see now where it was going. The first 3 or 4 years, it was very nice. She, all of her friends were my friends. I never met any of her friends the entire 4.5 years that were her friends, except Olivia Biz and maybe Nora and Joni Esposito. Other than that, I have met no one, because she was not going out. She wanted to be, and of course she had Lisa, so she wanted to protect her, and she wasn't just going out and about, and keeping Lisa safe was the priority for both of us, and especially for Elvis. So I made sure that I would be a protector for, and nothing but happened to Lisa and Priscilla while they were with me.
Mm-hmm. Now, you also say in the book that you think that obviously it was a very stressful process, her leaving her marriage and you leaving your marriage, but you say that she deserves credit for what she did.
Well, yeah, when I say that, I'm looking at listen, I mean, we don't have to do anything. But I would like the readers to have really two things, an open heart and an open mind. I mean, I want them to look at themselves first in their present romantic relationship or anything that they've had close to that for whatever reason didn't work out. Listen, and there are a million reasons why things don't work out. So I want them to stop and just, get away from fantasy land of seeing who they are in fantasy land, because the reality was for everyone. I mean, you look at their lives, really, who would want to be that? Honestly, who would want to consciously choose a life like that, where you think you have total freedom, but you don't? It is not a freedom type of a thing. I mean, you can't eat, you can go to a movie. I mean, to want that as a life is not a freeing experience.
I mean, you do say in the book that she no longer enjoyed being Mrs. Elvis Presley. The whole.
Yeah, it was not fun. Her initial, maybe when she was 14, of course, at 14, Elvis, my God, for a teenager like that, he's the whole world. So you can imagine going to paradise or going to his castle, going to Graceland, and you think at 14, being very naive, but maybe very ambitious, that, this may be my ticket into who I want to become someday, not realizing that she could never be allowed to be that person. Elvis would not allow it. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. She is a possession. So she, whatever idea she may have had at 14, by the time she was 18, the reality set in that she was in Graceland, and it may have been a castle, but it was a dungeon. And she was stuck there and couldn't find a way out, because when she realized the relationships he had with all of his friends, with the people around him, with the movie industry, with other women, I mean, she realized, I cannot get out of this. I have to wake up to the reality that even if I wanted to become a singer, an actress, whatever, I will never become it. I will never get out of here.
Yeah.
And I think when that set in, I don't know how early it was for her, but when it did set in, imagine how powerful it was for her, both in disappointment and in the idea of really being free. Both limitations can be extremely powerful and motivating and inspiring for you to get yourself out of this at any cost. So I just want the readers to just take a moment, and if they can reflect, if they've ever had a romantic relationship in their life, then to figure out if it didn't work, why not?
Yeah.
I mean, we have to be. I understand how we are as human beings. I understand our frailties. Believe me, I do.
So obviously, it progressed to divorce. And I'll read some more extracts, actually, that you've said. Elvis was blindsided and lost when she told him. Do you think that Elvis knew that there was maybe something going on with somebody? And did Elvis know about you? Did he know it was you at the time?
Well, this is a conflicting thing, because when I say conflicting, I mean I've obviously taken the time to watch and listen to many of Priscilla's interviews over the years, and it's fraught with contradictions. She never talks about me in any way. She never mentions me. Even when she does, she misspells my name, or they do, or she mispronounces my name in some of the interviews. So I don't know why she divorced herself of me that way completely. And again, when she left, this is where again the manipulation thing comes in, is that I thought it was a fantastic 4 years for me. And I thought it was for her and Lisa. And I know for them being in their situations at that time in their life, I was never a negative influence on them, on both of them. Very positive, very reassuring, very complimentary. And I have been throughout all of the time and to now, and it will continue to be. There is nothing I can say negative about either of them. I was blessed to have them.
Mm-hmm.
So, for her, maybe, I don't know, and she makes it sound like I was just a fling or just something that happened temporarily. Well, I think our relationship lasts longer than most marriages in Hollywood.
Yeah, well, I mean, it was at least 4 years, wasn't it? So that's more than a fling.
Oh, yes. Oh, yes. I mean, and unless I was in Disneyland somewhere, I mean, yes, it was more than a fling. It was something quite special. So, but I think when that door closed and she moved on into what she really wanted to do was to act and be in Hollywood and be wealthy, and which is good. I think I don't begrudge her any of that. In fact, she will get all that she deserves. And you can take it any which way you want, karmically or realistically.
Now, once it broke that they were divorcing and you were involved, as it was, the paparazzi started bothering you, and you took measures and you moved to a house on Summit Drive for your own sort of security and also for Lisa's security, didn't you?
Yes. Yeah. When nobody really knew we were seeing each other for really a year. Mm-hmm. The time that we lived in Naples and the time she came down to the school, I'm really surprised that Nora and Joni never said anything to their husbands, or if they did, the husbands they told this to didn't have the courage to tell Elvis at that time, so they just shut up. So there was at least a year that we were running around and nobody knew anything about it. It was only until Elvis found out, and it wasn't. Priscilla tells me she never told Elvis the night that she told him she was leaving and wanted a divorce. She didn't want a separation. She was set on a divorce. That's the only way that she would leave him, that it would be a complete severance of the relationship. So it was not a separation, not a trial period, not a timeout. It was going to be a divorce. So it had to be final in her mind to get away. So, but during that whole time, up until we went to, well, whenever it was released, we were already in Marina del Rey. And by then, we had paparazzis following us around. And especially when we moved to Summit Drive, because of Biz and Bo being in Beverly Hills, within a mile or so of the house, then, of course, everybody had access to her and the word was out and who it was and everything. So there was no need for hiding. And it was a sanctuary for us in a sense, because it was a perfect location to also keep Lisa safe and protected.
Tell me a little bit about your relationship, how you got on with Lisa-Marie. I mean, you've been accused of. No, we'll touch on that later. Your critics, but yeah, let me just ask you about your relationship with Lisa.
I loved her. She was fantastic.
You got on well with her, and she got on well with you.
Oh yes. I mean, you look at the pictures.
Yeah.
I mean, if you have to be deaf, dumb, and blind, obviously the blind part, if you cannot see the relationship we had. And then I write several things about holding hands when we went walking and stuff, and how she would always run up behind me and grab my hand to make sure she was secure, even though she was holding Priscilla's hand initially. When I would come back from either locking the car or letting them go ahead, whenever I was around, she would always make sure she would hold my hand. And the reason the relationship was so nice, I think, is because I regret that I had a daughter her age. Lisa was only 4 months older than my daughter, Shelley. So at the time that I left my daughter, Lisa was the same age. So being with Lisa was an absolute joy for me. I mean, I had an opportunity to make up to her what I did not have a chance to do for my own daughter.
What name did Lisa call you?
Mickey.
Mickey. Yeah, that's right. I have it written down here as well. Lisa always called me Mickey. Nice one.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, she was obviously very fond of you, and I can tell that you were obviously very, very fond of her. Well, you said you loved her, so yeah. I mean, that's enough for me,
Yeah.
Priscilla and her view on Lisa-Marie marrying Michael Jackson. What did she? Or did you hear anything about that? Because that was actually after your relationship ended. But did you ever hear anything about that?
The things I've heard are just reading between the lines of interviews she has had about that. So you can see that everybody around did not really that knew she didn't appreciate that particular move. So she didn't like it and she didn't think it was necessary. But that could have been one of many reasons that at the very end of her relationship with Lisa, that it was that far apart, that there were just too many things throughout their life that and it was and I'm happy to say that it happened after they left me. So when Lisa left, she was about 6 or 7, and then obviously Elvis died when she was 9 or so, and that was devastating. But I think from that point on, from Elvis's death for Lisa, I think it was virtually impossible. And then, however, Lisa chose to behave with the Scientology thing and putting her at boarding school. So these things happened after me, and I'm so happy that it did, and I wasn't involved, because the times that I was with them was really the best times of their life together and with me.
Both you and I know, we've actually discussed this as well, that you've been criticized for over 50 years about this. You have been sort of made out to be the villain of all this. So, I mean, you've even been accused of trying to stop Lisa-Marie seeing Elvis. You've been accused of being making money off of Elvis. But through all this, 50 years or more, you've not participated in one book. So I think it's only fair that you should be allowed now to address some of those accusations that are always being made against you.
Yeah, well, yeah, those two things in particular, upset me, because first of all, it's not true, and I'm not that type of person. So it doesn't matter what people think about me; they're going to have their own opinion. And most of the people that at that time, they're probably no longer with us. So I don't know if the new people are still feel that way, but I have a sense that they don't. I hope they mature and grow up from 50 years ago, and they've had things happen in their life where they can appreciate the position I was in. But as far as making money off of Elvis's name, I've never made a penny off of his name. I've been given more credit for being Elvis's instructor, his teacher, his very close friend. None of that is true. I was never his teacher, ever. I never taught him a lesson. Mm-hmm. I met him maybe only on 3 occasions. At the time that Phil Spector took me to see his show in Las Vegas. I met Priscilla at that time very briefly. I met him in the lobby at the Aladdin Hotel on a week. Chuck Norris and his wife and my wife were in Las Vegas, and I walked up to Elvis, and they were sitting in the lounge. And from that encounter, he invited us to watch his show. And the third time was at the show, and after the show, we went back up to see him. So those are the only 3 occasions in my entire life that I've met and spent any time. And again, even the time that I spent, it wasn't hours and hours. It was a matter of minutes. The longest was backstage at the Hilton after the show. I've made no money from him. I've been offered a lot of money a long time ago to write a book. And it wasn't about Elvis. It was about Priscilla and my relationship. And I chose not to do that. So I haven't benefited in any way. There's nothing you can ever find in the past 50 years. And there's been over 1,000 books written about Elvis by everyone except me. So, and I cannot write about him because I didn't know him. So what could I possibly say about him? And as far as Lisa-Marie, keeping him away, I just told you my feelings about Lisa and about the fact about my daughter. So I mean, there's no way on earth. First of all, I mean, let's have some common sense. I mean, who am I to say to Elvis, you can't see your daughter? Who am I to say to Lisa, you can't see your dad? Who am I to say to Priscilla, Lisa's mom, you can't allow Lisa to go see his father? Never, never have I done that. Never. I would never do that. I wouldn't want anybody preventing me, and nobody could prevent me from seeing my daughter. I don't care how rich, handsome, and famous they are.
Well, I think both you and I will agree with this next comment. Truth doesn't sell magazines and books, unfortunately.
Of course not. It's gossip and bullshit.
There's a part in the book that says farewell to Lisa, and it's
Yes.
sort of your feelings about Lisa. There is actually a lovely photograph on the cover of the book where it's taken with you and Lisa at an amusement park, and you're both looking at one another. I wanted to mention that because it's a lovely, lovely photograph, and I think it's obvious anybody looking at the photograph knows how the two of you feel about each other.
Yes, and that's the whole idea. The idea was, what is it, a Chinese proverb that a picture is worth 1,000 words?
Yes, that's right.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
If you could speak to Priscilla and Lisa-Marie one more time, what do you think you'd say to them?
What happened? What happened to both of you? I don't know. You know, it's just there was so much time has passed. So many things happened in everyone's life since then. So I can only remember the times that we shared, and I was blessed. So I'm wondering what happened to those two people.
I can see it's quite it's quite difficult to sum up is what you would say to them, isn't it?
Yeah, because it's because there's so many things, but it's mind-boggling to me because I know what's happened to my life, and I know how I've moved on, and I've accomplished so much more since we left, but I can't fathom what Priscilla was thinking to manage Lisa's life. I don't want to think about that.
Mm-hmm. You obviously, I know the answer to this question before I ask it, but I'm going to ask it anyway. There's no regrets about what happened between yourself and Priscilla, Lisa, and obviously ultimately Elvis.
No. It's, you know, when you make decisions, three things are going to happen. You're going to have results, outcomes, and consequences. And the consequences is the part that most human beings do not want to accept responsibility for. But when you make a choice, you're making a commitment. And the commitment is, I am responsible for the choices I made. 100% responsible. So that's it. It's very easy. There's no backstabbing. There's no pointing at other people. There's no blaming. There's no accusing. There's none of that. But yet, in truth, there is 98% of that in the world today for anyone that makes a choice that doesn't work out. So, I accepted responsibility for my choices and decisions with my family, with my ex-wife, with my children. I accepted that. I made the choice. I have to accept. That's all there is to it. You can't do anything about it. But now, when I think about, Lisa was just a child. So, we can exempt her from everything. She became truly a victim. And yet I say that, but I don't believe there are victims in life. I really don't. I'm of the belief that there's no such thing as victimhood. So you make choices, there's consequences, you accept them, you deal, and you move forward. That's my philosophy of life. So if there's anything that happens along the line of consequences that you're not accepting, then all of these other options are going to take place, because you're going to negatively influence everybody else that has to do with your choices. And since you're not accepting responsibility, all hell can break loose in your life with all of your relationships, no matter with who, for what reason. So this is very important. And I don't have to say any more than, listen, everybody can look from the time Lisa was 9 years old, from the time that they left, they can look at their lives and look at their lives. It's been very public. There's nothing hidden. And you can see what happened with the choices they made. It's sad. That's what I can say. It's very sad.
Yeah, there were no real winners in the situation, were there? There was always going to be a certain amount of pain, I suppose.
Well, it's going to be pain when you make the type of choices you make and you don't accept responsibility. Mm-hmm. So yes, those are called consequences. What you just stated was the consequences of their choices, that they weren't willing to accept full responsibility. So that's what happens.
Okay, the book, it's called Mike Stone, My Time with Priscilla and Lisa-Marie Presley. Where and when is it going to be available?
Just today, I finished talking to someone that's helping me with the IT, with the setting up of the agreement and everything with Amazon. So we're within days of submitting the book to Amazon. So I would suggest that, give it a couple weeks, whatever. But once Amazon has the contract and they start publishing the book, there's going to be an ebook and a paperback. So people can contact Amazon directly.
Is there going to be an audiobook as well, where you can actually just listen? I mean, they sometimes get the author to actually read the book and put it as an audiobook. That might be something for the future.
Yeah, I have no objection to that. I just don't know the process. I'm such a idiot when it comes to anything technologically like this, especially with a big company like Amazon. I don't question things, which I should. And one of the things getting asked to question is about the contract, the agreement, and the percentage. And I really don't care what it is. What I care about is I wrote the book and it's done. Yeah. And it's okay with me. What happened? That's it. I got it off my chest.
Yes. You. I mean, that was another question. I mean, why now? Do you think that this is obviously the right time? You've held off for over 50 years doing it, but you thought now was the right time. Yes.
Well, I thought it was the right time about a year ago or so, when Priscilla started interfering with Lisa's will and transference of the estate to Riley. When she started to have this intrusion into Lisa's life to the point that she was no longer a Presley, I couldn't take it anymore. So I said, well, I'm going to tell my story now, and about my time with them, and I wanted to show that that was a good time. So what happened what happened to them, both of them, after they left, I am not responsible for, but probably people will blame me for that as well. I don't know how they'll do that, but they'll find a way.
Well, obviously, I've had the privilege of reading this book before a lot of people, obviously, so as I could do this interview. And I would urge people to approach this book with an open mind. If you're going to close your mind and say, I'm not going to buy that book, I'm not going to read it simply because Mike Stone did this, that, and the other to Elvis, then I think that would be the wrong approach.
Well, I think if they did take the time to read it, and the amount of money is a very small amount to find out what the truth is, and it may set the reader free. They may be caught up in a situation of being owned, so to speak, mentally. So maybe if they get a chance to read my opinion, my truth, and read about how I talk about both of them, maybe they will have a different opinion. And, I don't care either way. I wrote it and I'm happy with it. So I just wanted to get it off my chest. It wasn't written to influence anybody else's way of thinking. The people that are haters are going to be haters until they die. So I don't want to. I'm not responsible for them. I can't change them. I don't want to do. I don't want to have anything to do with them. That's their life.
Yeah, some people are just set in their ways, and that's it. Mike, thanks very, very much. As always, it's been a great, great pleasure. And I'd like to thank you for taking time out to come on the show and speak with me. I hope this isn't the last time I speak with you, because every time I speak to you, I enjoy it so much anyway.
Thank you.
Okay, thanks, Mike, and take care, and I'll speak to you again soon.
All right, thanks for the opportunity.
Not at all. All the best, and look after yourself.
Okay, aloha.
A big thanks once again to Mike for joining me on the show today. I have included the links to my previous 2 conversations with Mike in the description box of this broadcast, and you can check those out to complete the overall picture of Mike's relationship with Priscilla and Lisa. Thanks for joining me on Elvis the Ultimate Fan channel today. As you may know, I broadcast a live Elvis show on YouTube every Sunday. Each week we discuss a different Elvis topic. I'd love to hear from you during the call-in section during the show, when we can discuss all things Elvis. And that's all for this week. I hope you can join me next time on Elvis the Ultimate Fan channel.